Okay, go ahead and start off with the exploration. So you're going to do parts A through D. So go ahead and pause the video, go ahead and do parts A through D, and then you can pick it up when you're ready for me to go through it. So it says that you sold a total of $16 worth of tickets to a fundraiser. You lost track of how many of each type of ticket you sold. Adult tickets are $4 each, and children's tickets are $2 each. Okay, so we're going to let X be the adult tickets, Y represent the children's tickets, and we want to write some kind of equation. Okay, so if I zoom in here on A, so we have $4 per adult ticket, so that's going to be my 4X. Okay, $4 per adult ticket, plus on top of that we have $2 per child ticket, so 2Y. And we want to make that equal to $16 worth of tickets. Okay, because it tells us that we sold a total of $16 worth of tickets. And just FYI, this form right here that we've written it in, where we have X and then Y and then a number, this is called standard form. So anytime you see X and Y on the same side of an equal sign and a number on the other side of the equal sign, it's standard form. Standard form is really, really good for graphing, and it's also good for finding intercepts. So when we're talking about X and Y intercepts, that would be where my graph would cross the X-axis and Y-axis, and we'll look at that in a little bit. Okay, so completing the table, you could use any kind of values here. Say we just use 1, 2, 3. Okay, if I plug a 1 in for X, and then subtract my 4 over. So if I plug a 1 in for X, that would make this 4 plus 2Y equals 16. Subtract 4 from both sides, I get 2Y equals 12. Divide by 2, I end up with Y is 6. So that would tell me if I sold one adult ticket, then I would have had to sell 6 children's tickets to make up that $16. Okay, so if I do the same thing for 2, okay, if I do the same thing for 2, so if I plug a 2 in for 4, that would be 8, or excuse me, in for X, that would be 8 plus 2Y equals 16. And I would subtract 8 from both sides, so I'd get 2Y equals 8, and then I'd end up with Y equals 4. So if there were 2 adult tickets, 2 in for X, then I would have to sell 4 children's tickets. Okay, and then if I plug 3 in, then that would be, what, 2 children's tickets, so on and so forth. Okay, then it wants me to look specifically at what happens if I don't sell any of one or another type of ticket. Okay, and this is kind of drilling down. Oop, my thing's separated here. Hold on a second. Let me get it all grouped together so it all moves together. There we go. So this is kind of drilling down to the concept of intercepts. Okay, so if I didn't sell any adult tickets, okay, and remember adult tickets are X, that would mean X would have to be 0. So if I take, let's see, let me just bring this function down here, 4X plus 2Y equals 16, okay? So if I say I didn't sell any adult tickets, that would be plugging a 0 in for this X term, okay? So essentially what you're going to do in order to figure this out very easily is I would simply plug a 0 in for X. That would wipe this term out, right? So if I wipe this term out completely, okay, if I wipe that term out completely and I divide by 2 on both sides, I end up with Y is 8. So if I did not sell any adult tickets, Y would have to be 8 tickets for 8 children's tickets to make that $16. Okay. If I wanted to get rid of, so let me get rid of the blue. Okay, if I wanted to, on the second part, if I didn't sell any children's tickets, then that would mean I would have to plug a 0 in for Y. Okay, so if I plug a 0 in for Y, that's going to knock this entire term out. Okay, and I would divide by 4 on both sides, and I would end up with X is 4. So if I didn't sell any children's tickets, then I would have X equals 4. Okay, so if I'm trying to graph this, these intercepts actually make it super easy. So the method that I just showed you on how to find the x value and y value is called the cover-up method. Okay, so we just very simply cover up the term that we don't need, and then we get two values. We get an x value of 4 and a y value of 8. So plotting those points makes it super easy. So all I need to do now, since I have x is 4 and y is 8, so I have, let me just write that down here, x is 4, y is 8. Then I just need to plot those points. So I go on the x-axis, which is the left and right axis here. I go to 4, and that's going to be my first point. Okay, ooh, I missed. Okay, so there's my x is 4. I go on the y-axis up to 8. There's my second point. And then I simply connect them with a line. And there's my graph. So you can see all of these ordered pairs along this line would represent combinations of ticket numbers, of adult and child ticket numbers, that would allow me to get $16. Okay, so standard form is super, super convenient when you're just trying to graph something that's nice and easy. Okay, all right, so down here it kind of talks about using intercepts to graph the equation. We see over here, just to kind of highlight some stuff, over on the left-hand side, it says the x-intercept of a graph is the x-coordinate where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so the super important part that you want to make sure that you see and understand is this part down here. Okay, ooh, I missed this part down here. Okay, to find the x-intercept, let y be 0 and solve for x. That simply means cover, oh, I don't want the marker. That simply means cover y. Okay, so you cover up y to find the x value. Okay, then the second thing, to find the y-intercept over on the right, to find the y-intercept, let x be 0 and solve for y. That again simply means that you want to cover x. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice that. So let's go to the next page. Up at the top, it asks me to find the x and y intercepts of the graph. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 and 3 with you, and then I'm going to ask you to do 2 and 4. So let's do 1 and 3. So 1 just asks me to find the x and y intercepts. So in order to find the x-intercept, remember the x-intercept is where y is 0. So I would cover that up. Okay, so I cover up my y term and I solve what's left. So I have 3x equals 12. Divide by 3. And x is 4. So this is my x-intercept. Okay. Sometimes you will see it written as an ordered pair, but sometimes not. Okay. Then to go, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Then in order to find my y-intercept, I'm covering up x. So I cover up x. I'm left with 4y equals 12. I divide by 4 on both sides. And I end up with y equals 3. And that's my y-intercept. Okay? And guys, if you do see them written as ordered pairs, you know the other value. X is 4, y is 0, right? For the x-intercept, so that would be 4, 0. For the y-intercept, x is 0, so x is 0. You know the y value is 3. So you can see that they can be written either as x equals y equals values or as ordered pairs. Okay? So taking it one step further with number 3, we want to find those x and y intercepts, and then we want to graph it. Okay, so if I cover up the y value to find the x intercept, I'm left with negative 8x equals 24. I divide by negative 8, and I end up with x equals negative 3. Okay, in order to find the y-intercept, I cover up the x term, and I'm left with 12y equals 24. Divide by 12 on both sides, and I end up with y is 2. Okay, so x is negative 3 on the x-axis, I go left 3. Y is 2 on the y-axis, I go up 2. And I connect them with a line. Sorry about that. My iPad kind of glitched there, and I added a couple extra pages on there. Sorry about that. So then we just connect it with a line, and we're done. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second. Go ahead and pause the video. Do 2 and 4 together with your groups, or I guess individually if you're listening to the video individually. And then you can go ahead and start the video back up when you're ready for me to do it. Okay, so for number 2, for the x-intercept, I cover up y. I'm left with negative x equals 16. Divide by negative 1. And I end up with x equals negative 16. To find the y-intercept, I cover up the x. I'm left with negative 4y equals 16. Divide by negative 4. And you're left with y equals negative 4. Okay, and again, if you wanted ordered pairs, you could always do negative 16, 0, and 0, negative 4. Okay. And then for my find the intercepts in graph, nice and simple. Cover up the y term. I have 2x equals 4. Divide, and x is 2. And the y is super easy for us. Cover up the x term, and you're just left with y equals 4, which is already solved for you. So the x equals 2. The y equals 4. Connect them with a line, and you are done. Okay, so let's just look at one more thing before you guys are turned loose on your preparation. Horizontal and vertical lines. So I like to call these kind of special case lines. They look special when you write them down because it's just x equals a number or y equals a number. Okay, so x equals a number or y equals a number. Those are always opposite the axis. So if you imagine the x-axis is the one that runs left and right, my x equals line is always going to run up and down. Okay, so the same thing, the y-axis is up and down, the y equals line is going to go left and right because you are simply trying to meet the axis at that point. So if I have y equals a number, b, it's going to be a horizontal line that hits the y-axis at that b number. If I have x equals a number, a in this case, I'm going to hit the x-axis at that number. Okay, so it's going to be a vertical line. So it's always opposite the axis. Okay, so we have an x-axis, x equals line. We have a y-axis and a y equals line. Okay, so just looking at a couple examples here, we have y equals negative 3. So I want to find negative 3 on the y-axis. So that would be down 3 right here. And then it's always opposite the axis. So since the y-axis goes up and down, my y equals line is going to go left and right. Okay. And again, this is only for when you have y equals a number or x equals a number as your equation. Okay. So x equals 2. I want to find 2 on the x-axis. Make my point. And then my x-axis is left and right, so my x equals line is going to go up and down. And I'm done. Okay. So those are the special case lines if you run into a line that is just x equals a number or y equals a number. So now you guys are ready for your prep.